Alright, I am going to talk about Stan Winston's Realm of the Claw. This was, I think, a 6-issue miniseries. The thing at the beginning of the book, the thing that's at the beginning of all graphic novels, that normally tells you how many issues and what issues of the series you are reading are collected in that book. I was looking at that before I started reading this, and I could not find anywhere where it says how many issues are collected here, but this book is divided into chapters, and it is, I think, 6 chapters long, with a few little mini chapters at the end. And this is Characters and Concept by Stan Winston, written by Francis Takanaga, art by David Yarden, Gabrielle Rierte, and Liam Sharp. Stan Winston, if you have never heard the name, you have at least heard of stuff that he has worked on. He did special effects and makeup and different, effects work on movies. He worked on some of the Aliens movies, some of the Terminator movies, some of the Jurassic Park movies. He very well known in movies, and he died, I think, in 2008. This comic came out in 2006, and I first want to talk a little bit about some of the good with this book, and then a little bit of some of the bad. So the good, I like some of the lore, some of the backstory with this world. So the basic story is there are these two adopted brothers. One of them, he is a millionaire. His adopted brother, he got a PhD and is a zookeeper, and then both of them are actually reincarnated cat god princes from a hidden animal kingdom in Africa. They were banished, like at one point they say almost a millennia ago, so I guess 1,000 years ago, they were banished to man's world, but then at one point also they say it's been 9 human lifetimes that they have been reincarnated, and unless these are just really long-lived humans, most humans are not going to live over 100 years. If it's been almost a millennia and 9 human lifetimes, that doesn't quite add up, but whatever. Anyway, these guys basically get pulled into this little family civil war in this hidden animal kingdom somewhere in Africa. I like a lot of the I guess I like the potential of some of the family dynamic here. The father, he kind of, in a lot of ways, it kind of reminds me of the Marvel Comics version of Norse mythology with Odin, Loki, and Thor. Especially the Loki who is not 100% evil, but is definitely the black sheep of the family. That dynamic kind of is at play here, but then you've also got an uncle or a brother to the Odin type in this story. And he and his brother also kind of have some hostility with each other. So I like a lot of the family dynamic there, and I like a lot of the mythology that's at play with this hidden world. There's like this, long, long ago, there was a war between the animals and the humans, kind of a, Lord of the Rings prequel. A voice is telling you something that happened a long time ago. There's something like that at the very beginning here. I like all of that. So that would be the good for me. The bad, unfortunately, is just the pacing of this story. In 6 chapters, it is in chapter 4 when our main character finally decides that he's going to go through this hidden hallucination holographic art rock thing. He's going to walk through it because there's this woman who comes and finds him and says, "Hey, I need you to come with me." And he says, "I don't want to." And so then she drugs him and somehow gets him on a plane. I don't know how. And then they land in Africa, and then he finds out that his brother is missing. So then they go to this rock where it's just close to where his brother went missing. And the woman, she is actually secretly a cat person from this hidden kingdom. And then she takes off her clothes and goes through the rock. And then he's like, "Well, I don't believe it." So then he leaves, and finally he decides, I guess I'll give it a try. It's issue 4 before he finally goes through the rock. And that is way too late for the story to actually be starting in a 6-issue story. It takes way too long for things to actually start happening. And as as I finished this book, I told myself I think I would have been interested if they had done a volume 2. As near as I can tell, they never did do a volume 2. This came out just a couple of years before Stan Winston died, so I'm guessing that that was a reason that this series didn't continue. I'm not sure. If I Google Stan Winston's Realm of the Claw, I will not find hardly any information about this comic. Mostly, some of the top results were about action figures and statues from this line. So I'm wondering if maybe when this series came out, if it was maybe just there to kind of promote the toy line. I'm not really sure. But anyway, I think a lot of what I was interested in probably would have played up a lot more in a volume 2, because by the end, our main character, he is now the ruler of this hidden animal kingdom, and then he has all these human memories that he lived for several lifetimes, but then he also remembers his life as a cat god animal prince, and I feel like that could have been really interesting, where now he has to rule. He doesn't have any experience ruling, or very little experience, and now he's got to use his experiences as a human and try to help these animal people who may not like or trust him because he may be acting like a human. A lot of that would have been really interesting. Unfortunately, we get almost none of that at all. Like I said, we spend a lot of time setting up the story that we don't really get. We spend a whole lot of time with the two exiled cat princes in the human world before they actually come to the animal world. The bad prince, he actually gets to the animal world a lot sooner than the good prince, and I cannot think of any reason why the story had to take as long as it did to get where it was going. I feel like it could have kind of tightened up those first 3 issues a lot, and then you could have had more story in the hidden animal kingdom. As is, it took way too long for anything to actually start happening, and then when stuff finally did start happening, we're suddenly spending a lot more time with a lot of these animals that live in the animal kingdom, and then I'm supposed to care about who these people are, but we barely spent any time with them in the first 3 issues. We spent a little bit of time there, but not nearly as much as what we should have if you want me to care about, spoilers, some of these animals that end up dying in this animal civil war. Overall, do I recommend Stan Winston's Realm of the Claw? Unfortunately, no. I don't want to speak ill of the dead, but when I looked up this comic to see if I could find any information on the making of and like what the process was, did Eric Larson, who is the publisher, did he go to Stan Winston? Did Stan Winston come to Image? I'm not really sure, but I have this idea that because he was struggling with, it was some kind of disease, I can't remember what it was off the top of my head, for a few years by this point, and I wonder if he just needed a little extra money, and then he knocked off some Thundercats design knockoffs, and then said, here, make a comic out of this, and then you give me money, and then you guys do whatever you want, because Stan Winston was not actually involved with this comic. He is credited as the creation of the concept and the characters, and in the back of the book, it does say that some of these ideas had been knocking around in his brain for 20 years. I don't know how true that is. Maybe he thought this would make a cool comic book back in the 80s, or maybe he thought this would make a cool movie back in the 80s, but he thought, you know what, the technology's not really there, and then it was 2009 before we got Avatar, and say what you will about that movie, but it looks really good, and so maybe Stan Winston wanted to make this into a movie for his whole life, and he just never thought that we were quite able to do something like that, so he created some concept work and then gave it to these other guys and said, you guys make a comic book and then give me a little bit of money. That's kind of what I'm thinking happened. I don't know. It was almost impossible to find any information about this anywhere online. But unfortunately, even though I think this could have been a really interesting series if it had gone on longer, the setup here just isn't quite good enough for me to recommend that you read it if you happen to find it in a comic book store. I looked it up on Amazon, and used, you can get it for like $35. That's a little steep for a 6-issue story, but yeah, I wouldn't recommend it. And I guess I should talk about the end of the book. There's like these 3 little, very brief mini chapters, and they do not make make any sense at all. There's one of them where a human guy goes to the unemployment office, and then he tells the woman there that there's a secret animal kingdom, and then basically he's kind of going through the backstory that we already got at the beginning of the book, and then he disappears, and I have no idea who that guy is supposed to be, because on the next page we see the Bad Prince on the newspaper, and it kind of looks like the Bad Prince, but then I have no idea why he would know about all of this and why he would go to the unemployment office, because he's a billionaire. He shouldn't need to go to the unemployment office, but I have no idea what's going on there other than a vehicle for us to find out about the backstory kind of from a different angle. It was delivered a little bit differently than it was at the beginning of the book, and then we get a story. I feel there were 3 stories, I think, and now I can't remember what one of them was. We get a little bit of information about the uncle, the evil uncle, and how he sent some agents to influence the Bad Prince, and then the Bad Prince buys the zoo that his brother worked at. And really, I don't think any of these stories were really necessary in us understanding what was going on in the main story, and I don't know, were they printed in the back of the main issues? I'm not really sure, but the art is by different people in these little mini chapters, and I don't really think they're very good either. So that is about all that I have to say about Realm of the Claw. Not great. I think it could have been good if they shifted the focus a little bit, if issue 4 was actually like issue 2, and then we could have had more time in this animal kingdom and spend more time with these characters, and I'll be honest, I wish that we had a more, not quite black and white, battle here between these two sides. We have the main guy, he doesn't really have any faults or flaws at all in his character, and then we have his antagonists who are just, bwahaha, I'm evil, and I wish that it was a little bit more morally gray. So anyway, a good attempt, I think, but not great. So those are my thoughts on Realm of the Claw. I hope you guys liked this one, and I will be back in the future with something else. In the meantime, have a great rest of your day. Catch you later.